All right, I'm here with Mr. Eric Boyer. He works with AT&T.
I do.
Yes. So we're talking about strategies that AT&T uses globally. AT&T works in a lot of markets. Is there any like global standard or strategy that you use across all your markets? An ideal or something?
Well, AT&T is an integrated business, and we've got massive businesses in a couple of different areas. So we have a consumer business that's largely in our old 21-state telephone company footprint. And in that business, we sell UVerse, we sell Gigapower, broadband, telephony, and so that's a wired business. We don't have a lot of global activity there.
Yeah.
Our TV business has largely been UVerse. We're in the midst of acquiring DirecTV. DirecTV is going to give us global exposure in that they have about 19 million subscribers throughout Latin America.
Yeah.
We have a wireless business, which is a national footprint, and we've been in the wireless business since there was a wireless business.
Yeah.
But that also is largely a domestic business. We just announced that we're going to acquire a Usacell in Mexico, and so that will give us exposure to wireline customers in Mexico. And then we have a business, AT&T Business Services, that we sell to all 1,000 of the Fortune 1000, and that's our largest global business. And in that business, we have networks and points of presence throughout, every developed country in the world, and some developing countries in the world, and that's a business that. I come from the Southwestern Bell side of AT&T, SBC side of AT&T. When we acquired AT&T, AT&T had already established that global business. And then along the way, we've acquired IBM's networking business, and we acquired Shell's networking business, and so we've integrated those together. And what we do is we provide global business services, and then we work with partners for the last mile connectivity. So the actual copper fiber infrastructure that goes from the points of presence to the factory or to the business office or whatever is provided generally by the local carrier. We work with China Telecom, we work with Reliance in India, we work with Telmex, we work with providers all over the world, and then we network those locations to other locations around the globe via our broader Layer 3 network.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay, so you talked about you just recently are going to Mexico with that. How does AT&T, how do you decide what new market you're going into? Is there any way it's...
Well, for AT&T, we've got there's a history here that informs a lot of our decisions. And so when we were Southwestern Bell and later SBC, we were part of the original privatization of Mexico with Carlos Slim back in 1990.
Right.
And so we own as much as 12% of Telmex and América Móvil up until the DirecTV deal that we announced several months ago. And while we did that, we had a position through our ownership in Telmex and América Móvil throughout Latin America. And so Latin America wasn't a place that we sought to make a lot of investments,
right,
because we already had a position there, we had a partner there in Carlos Slim, and we worked with him. When we did the DirecTV deal, that put us in a position where we were acquiring companies that were in direct competition with his companies. So we sold our interests in Telmex and América Móvil. We were on their boards of directors. We backed out of their boards, and so the DirecTV acquisition, one, gave us assets in Latin America, and two, caused us to change our position with Carlos Slim. And then in parallel to that, we're a bit opportunistic. So the Mexican government in the last year has passed legislation that requires América Móvil to divest some of its holdings. So they have a 70% market share in the wireless market in Mexico. And they've got to divest to where they get below 50. And so in doing so, the government both encouraged foreign investment, and they created a condition whereby Carlos Slim's his companies need to sell down some of their assets.
Right.
So all of those
It
things
made sense to
combined.
get out so that you can come in later.
Well, we got out because of the DirecTV deal.
Right.
But once we got out,
Yeah, realized.
combined with the actions that the Mexican government were taking, it created an opportunity that looked very good to us.
Down the line.
The investment opportunity in Mexico looks really good. The government's supportive. They're backing foreign investment, which they haven't always done. They're creating a regulatory environment which looks to be one that they're trying to drive those competitors to be successful, and so that's the logical next step.
Very nice.
Plus Latin America, I mean Mexico and all Latin America are growing like crazy.
Right,
So they're really terrific markets, developing markets, good economies.
Especially the way Brazil's like come back, it's completely crazy. I mean, let me see. All right. Well, with partners like in India, I know they were working with. I don't know if you know much about this topic, but they were working with like Mahindra Telecommunications, and it was like I don't know what it was. I think they had to. AT&T owns about 70% of the company. So would AT&T, when they're working with it, would they prefer to be working with a partner like that, or have wholly owned subsidiaries in the country?
Well, that depends upon
The situation.
Yeah. So I mean, I think all things being equal, we'd love to have controlling interest, and we'd love to be, full owners and operators.
Right.
But countries around the world, look at China as an example. You can't do that. You can't be a foreign-owned communication provider in China. So
Right.
if you're going to participate in China, you're going to participate as a partner of one of the entrenched Chinese-owned companies.
Mm-hmm.
India, very similar in that regard. And so, as you evaluate what the opportunities are, you have to look at what the general view is of the governments that are in charge. Mm-hmm. And so, where you want to go where the markets are growing, we tend to have a strategy where we follow our customers. We're not just going into some country because we think it's great. We have customers who are multinational customers. They're building factories there. They're growing their business there. We want to set up a beachhead there, and we'll use that. And so, we let our customers kind of drive where we're going to go, and then we look to what the opportunities are and try to be flexible. And so in our past, we've been majority owners in South Africa, in Belgium, in some things that we've had in England. Certainly, we've had the relationship I described in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So you have to be flexible and take what the government gives you.
All right. Wow, you eliminated some of my questions straight off the bat. I mean,
and all these things. I will make another comment about Mahindra. We've had a relationship with the Mahindra Group for 15 years, and it largely started by looking for ability to leverage Indian IT workers back in the early 90s. And so, just the talent levels in India were, really terrific, great IT pools of resources. We didn't know anything about operating in India ourselves.
So working with them made sense.
Working with them made sense, and we created a joint venture with Mahindra. And we've varied our ownership stakes in that for, a number of years, depending upon how things are going.
Yeah, I was able to find a lot of stuff on it. It was really helpful. All right, I think this is my final question. Why do you think AT&T is able to be successful globally? What do you think it is in the strategy and the way you do work, the way you do business?
Well, global business is a challenging business, and especially when you're in the business we're in of providing communication services. And we've been more successful in some countries than we've been in others. I would tell you that. Really taking the time to understand the unique nature of the market that you're going into is incredibly important. Whether we're going to a market to set up shop to sell our services, or we're going to a market to build work centers and create global centers of excellence where we have people work on our product, understanding the unique cultures, the government and regulatory environments, investing in local resources who know what the markets are like, whether it's a labor market or whether it's a customer market. Really taking the time to get the right people who understand how things operate in that location is critical.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.